audible? Is my voice clear? So can I start now? Okay. So I'll just give a, I think the session has started. I will just introduce myself. तो मेरा नाम है नितिन प्रदीप. तो इस साल की यूपीएससी की एग्ज़ाम में मेरा रैंक आएगा रैंक है 172. मैं प्राइमरीली केरला से हूँ. आई एम फ्रॉम केरला. सो अगर मैं स्कूलिंग इन भारतीय विद्या भवन, उसके बाद आई हैव गॉन टू आईआईटी मद्रास फॉर माय इंटीग्रेटेड मास्टर्स इन डेवलपमेंट स्टडीज़. उसके बाद मैं 2 साल काम भी किया था एक एनजीओ में, देश पांडे फाउंडेशन. वहाँ पे 2 साल काम किया और फिर जॉब छोड़ दी सिविल सर्विस की प्रिपरेशन करने के लिए. सो दैट्स अबाउट मी. तो ये मेरा 4th अटेम्प्ट है. मैं 2 अटेम्प्ट दिया था जब व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग. तो 3rd अटेम्प्ट दिया उसमें. सो प्रॉपर प्रिपरेशन के बाद 3rd अटेम्प्ट दिया. उसमें प्रीलिम्स क्लियर हो गया लेकिन मेंस मैं आई कुडंट क्लियर. Then 4th attempt I was able to clear the exam. Just a second. Okay. तो पहले मैं अपना स्ट्रैटेजी, आई विल बी शेयरिंग विथ यू माय स्ट्रैटेजी फॉर द एग्जाम इन ऑल द 3 स्टेजेस, प्रीलिम्स, मेंस एंड इंटरव्यू. सो प्रीलिम्स, तो मैं बोला था कि 2 अटेम्प्ट दिया था मैं प्रीलिम्स जब मैं काम कर रहा था. तो बिना प्रिपरेशन के काम किया था वो. सो उस टाइम व्हाट आई ऑब्जर्व इज दैट प्रीलिम्स ज़्यादातर लॉट ऑफ नॉलेज की वो टेस्ट नहीं है जैसे हम सोचते हैं. ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव टू स्टडी, पढ़ना पड़ता है उसके लिए, फंडामेंटल्स स्ट्रॉन्ग होनी चाहिए. बट बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस जो है वो लॉजिक से क्लियर हो जाता है, वो एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी के साथ क्लियर हो सकता है. ये बहुत this was very clear when I saw the exam and the pattern of the questions. My prelims preparation has been focused on clearing my fundamentals. तो पहले मैं NCERT के साथ शुरू किया था. I started with NCERTs. सारे NCERT पढ़ लिए थे मैं. मैं 6th standard से नहीं पढ़ा. Only very important NCERTs. So very only important NCERTs I did. So this included basically the 11th standard and 12th standard textbooks, and in some cases 9th and 10th. But largely it was focused on understanding which NCERT was most important for the prelims and for the civil service exam in general. तो उसमें एक इम्पॉर्टेंट बात जो है मुझे लगती है कि NCERT के क्लास 11 का इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वर्क वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टेक्स्ट बुक हो जाती है. वो मैं सबको रिकमेंड कर देता हूँ पढ़ने के लिए. देन मॉडर्न इंडिया, फिर जोग्राफी, फिजिकल जोग्राफी और इवन ह्यूमन जोग्राफी, दोनों भी NCERT का ही पढ़ा था मैं. तो NCERT में मैं प्रिपरेशन शुरू किया. उसके बाद आई स्लोली वेंट टूवर्ड्स द फंडामेंटल टेक्स्ट बुक. तो पॉलिटी के लिए लक्ष्मीकांत शुरू किया था मैं. लक्ष्मीकांत पढ़ा. फिर हिस्ट्री के लिए स्पेक्ट्रम और बिपिन चंद्रा का टेक्स्ट बुक भी थोड़ा पढ़ा था. नॉट द एंटायर टेक्स्ट बुक. जोग्राफी के लिए NCERT टेक्स्ट बुक्स आई कम्प्लीटली रिलाइड ऑन NCERT. फिर एनवायरमेंटल इकोलॉजी के लिए आई डिपेंडेड ऑन टेक्स्ट बुक कॉल्ड एसेंशियल्स ऑफ इकोलॉजी. सो वो एक टेक्स्ट बुक है, वो इट्स अ वेरी बिग टेक्स्ट बुक, लेकिन उसमें सेलेक्टेड चैप्टर्स जो है वो मैं पढ़ा था. एसेंशियल्स ऑफ इकोलॉजी है इसका नाम. I think it's a highly recommended book. Even I think the aspirants can actually read this book. हर चैप्टर पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. जो इम्पॉर्टेंट है प्रीलिम्स के लिए, लाइक पोल्यूशन, क्लाइमेट चेंज, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, वो और फंडामेंटल्स और बेसिक्स ऑफ इकोलॉजी, वो सब उसमें बहुत क्लियर है और अच्छा तरह से दिया भी है. So that's how I did my environment and ecology. Plus of course reading newspapers on a daily basis. तो मैं हर रोज़ न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ता था, 1 घंटे में मैं ख़त्म कर देता था. So every day I used to read newspapers. That was a routine thing for me. So that is again very important for I think for current affairs that's really very important. मैं current affairs compilations नहीं पढ़ता था. Used to rely completely on newspapers. और न्यूज़पेपर्स का नोट्स आई थिंक अगर करना चाहते हैं तो आप लोग कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इट्स नॉट वेरी एसेंशियल दैट यू हैव टू क्रिएट नोट्स फ्रॉम न्यूज़पेपर्स. बट मेक श्योर दैट योर स्टैटिक नॉलेज इज़ वेरी वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग. जो फंडामेंटल्स है, जो स्टैटिक नॉलेज है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग होनी चाहिए. एंड देन ऑलवेज लिंक द स्टैटिक नॉलेज विद द करंट अफेयर्स. तो मैं एक एग्जाम्पल बोलूँ कि लास्ट ईयर देयर वाज द लॉ ऑन चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर्स अपॉइंटमेंट. सो उस टाइम आपको ये होनी चाहिए कि आपको यू हैव टू रीड अबाउट इलेक्शन कमीशन. तो आप जाइए लक्ष्मीकांत में इलेक्शन कमीशन पढ़िए. सो दैट्स हाउ इट शुड बी डन. ऑलवेज लिंक द करंट अफेयर्स and the static portions. This will be very helpful for the exam. And many a times UPSC asks questions inspired from the current affairs. Mains हो या prelims हो, दोनों के time में. And another important thing about prelims that I did was studying a lot of times the PYQs. तो एक दिशा पब्लिकेशंस नाम का एक बुक है. तो उसमें लाइक 20-25 ईयर्स का जो प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन है वो मैं रेफर किया था. एंड यू हैव टू कीप ऑन रीडिंग दैट क्वेश्चंस अगेन एंड अगेन. जस्ट टेक्स्ट बुक पढ़ के वहाँ पे जस्ट वो क्वेश्चन पढ़ के उसका आंसर पढ़ के स्टॉप नहीं करना है. यू हैव टू डिग डीपर इनटू द क्वेश्चन. सो यू हैव टू आस्क वेदर इट इज दैट क्वेश्चन इज रेलेवेंट नाउ, वेदर समथिंग इज हैपनिंग रिलेटेड टू दैट पर्टिकुलर इशू नाउ. सो उसके साथ डेप्थ आपको डेवलप करना है. Because UPSC what it does is that 1 year they'll ask one particular thing, and next year something will be asked related to that, the particular thing that they asked last year. तो उनकी डेप्थ बढ़ जाती है नेक्स्ट ईयर में. So that is how UPSC is actually structuring its question paper. So you can so always make sure that PYQs previous year questions आप thoroughly पढ़िए, so that you get clear about how the UPSC prepares the questions. उनकी जो लैंग्वेज है, जो एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट्स जो है वो आप देख सकते हैं कि जो एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट्स है वो ज़्यादातर गलत हो जाती है. अगर नन ऑफ द माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स और ऑल दी माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स ऐसा कुछ होता है तो यू कैन ऑलवेज से दैट मोस्टली 80% ऑफ द टाइम ये गलत हो जाती है. सो यू कैन ईजिली एलिमिनेट. सो दैट एलिमिनेशन टेक्निक यू कैन एक्चुअली यूज इन प्रीलिम्स. सो प्रीलिम्स में दैट लॉजिक जो है दैट यू कैन डेवलप थ्रू टेकिंग टेस्ट. तो मैंने क्या किया था, हमारी सो आई जॉइंड एन इंस्टीट्यूट कॉल्ड आई लर्न, वो ट्रिवांड्रम में है, केरला में है. तो उनकी वीकली टेस्ट हो जाती थी. सो अगर आज इस हफ्ते प्रीलिम्स पॉलिटिक क्लास हो जाती है तो सैटरडे या संडे को टेस्ट होता था, एक मिनी टेस्ट. उसके बाद देन दे विल स्टार्ट दी फुल टेस्ट जो 100 क्वेश्चंस का है सब्जेक्ट वाइज. सो वीकली टेस्ट आई यूज्ड टू मेक श्योर दैट आई रिवाइज ड्यूरिंग द वीकली टेस्ट. तो अगर संडे को वीकली टेस्ट है तो सैटरडे को आई विल रिवाइज वॉट एवर वॉज टॉट इन द वीक, एंड द संडे आई विल गिव द टेस्ट. So I used to repeat this thing. So make sure that revision is very important for any stage, be prelims or mains. Revision is really important. You have to keep on revising the things that you've learned, and make sure that the weekends are used to the maximum for revisions. मैंने ऐसे किया था, मैं सैटरडे संडे को पूरा I used to spend time for this revision. So I think aspirants जो भी है यहाँ पे you can actually make use of the weekends to use to revise the things that have been taught in the past week. तो ये मेरा ज़्यादातर अप्रोच था प्रीलिम्स में. एंड सी सैट के लिए, टू कमिंग टू सी सैट, तो आई वॉज ओके विथ रीडिंग कॉम्प्रीहेंशन. सो मेरा स्ट्रैटेजी था टू डिपेंड मोस्टली ऑन रीडिंग कॉम्प्रीहेंशन एंड क्लियर सी सैट. सो आई यूज टू रीड. सो मेरा हॉबी भी रीडिंग था, तो रीडिंग स्पीड मेरा काफ़ी ठीक ठाक था. तो रीडिंग कॉम्प्रीहेंशन में ज़्यादातर प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो जाती थी. For maths, what I did is that I studied the fundamental formulas. तो अगर आप लेते हैं तो स्पीड एंड टाइम, तो उसका जो बेसिक फार्मूलाज है वो मैं पढ़ता हूँ. अगर टाइम एंड वर्क, उसका भी बेसिक फार्मूलाज जो है मैं पढ़ता हूँ. आई स्टडी दोस बेसिक फार्मूलाज, एंड आई थिंक दैट विल बी सफिशिएंट फॉर एग्जाम, बिकॉज सीसैट डजंट आस्क वेरी एडवांस्ड मैथ क्वेश्चंस. तो आप वो बेसिक फार्मूलाज क्लियर हो जाए, देन आई थिंक यू कैन समवॉट क्लियर द एग्जाम, क्लियर द सीसैट पार्ट. तो वो मैं सीसैट के लिए करता था. एंड फॉर द प्रीलिम्स जो टाइम मैनेजमेंट है आई थिंक इट्स मैं क्या करता था कि आई यूज टू फर्स्ट डू दी फर्स्ट राउंड. तो जीएस पेपर के लिए फर्स्ट राउंड करता था, उसमें आई यूज टू गिव मैक्सिमम अटेम्प्ट्स. तो वहाँ पे मैक्सिमम अटेम्प्ट्स करता था, बिकॉज जो क्वेश्चन दैट आई एम फेमिलियर विद, दोज क्वेश्चन आई एम कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट, आई विल अटेम्प्ट ऑल दोज क्वेश्चन इन फर्स्ट राउंड. फिर मैं सेकेंड राउंड में आता था. फिर मैं सेकेंड राउंड को आ जाता था. सेकेंड राउंड में I will check those questions where I have 50-50 questions I used to give in the second round, and if possible third round also used to happen. So that's how I used to manage my time for the prelims. CSAT के लिए rounds is not required. I not do any rounds. So I used to first go to the reading comprehension part and then look into the questions of mathematics and reasoning. So that was my last strategy for prelims. और हिस्ट्री के लिए प्रीलिम्स आई वुड सजेस्ट तमिलनाडु एससीईआरटी अगर आप पढ़ सकते हैं तो आई थिंक इट विल बी रियली हेल्पफुल. एंड इवन एनसीईआरटी का आर्ट एंड कल्चर, मेक श्योर दैट यू रीड दिस बुक फॉर आर्ट एंड कल्चर. प्रीलिम्स के लिए भी, मेंस के लिए भी बिकम्स रियली इंपॉर्टेंट, बिकॉज दिस टाइम इन मेंस दे आस्क्ड अबाउट some dynasty in Madhya Pradesh. They built the Khajuraho temple. तो I think NCERT में था ये, so you can give basic answer of a sort of good answer by reading NCERT textbook. So art and culture is very important. तो आप art and culture textbook of NCERT as well as Singhania book also you can read for art and culture. But that is not very essential reading, I would say. तो ये था मेरा prelims का strategy. And coming to now, I think I'll come to mains. तो मेरा optional था political science and international relations. तो मैंने क्या किया, तो mains के लिए my strategy was to actually depend a lot on the toppers copies. So I made sure that I read all the textbooks, the fundamental books, and I try to make sure that the content, I have enough content, and also make sure that I read newspapers daily. So current affairs has to be very strong for mains. Static knowledge has to be very strong for mains. Both are really important. तो मैंने क्या किया था कि for every paper, GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, I made digital notes, but not a usual type of notes. What I did was that I took this notes is basically a set of examples. तो अगर GS3 का लेता हूँ example, I give case of GS3. तो GS3 में all the data points I noted down in the notes. Example लेता हूँ agriculture का. If I take food processing, तो food processing का जो data set है, I used to record that in the digital notes. That is so a lot of examples were stored in my GS notes. This happened for GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. For GS4 it was a bit different. There also examples ही रखा था मैं, लेकिन एक key term का examples. So अगर integrity, the key term है integrity, उसका मैं 5 example लिखता था. Compassion, उसका 5 examples. Environmental responsibility, उसका 5 examples. So that is how I structured my notes for ethics. So what happened is that when I wrote the answers, I could easily get examples of different IAS officers, IPS officers doing something in some district, the innovative methods that they take. So that is how I wrote my notes. So similarly for GS2 also, I did a very similar thing of making sure that I had enough number of examples. क्योंकि मेरा प्रॉब्लम ये था कि मेरा फर्स्ट मेंस, आफ्टर द फर्स्ट मेंस आई गेव, I realized that my answers were lacking a lot in data and examples. So points में लिखता था, लेकिन points को substantiate करने के लिए जो examples थी वो मेरे पास काफ़ी कम था. तो इसीलिए मैं ज़्यादातर examples में focus करके मैंने next attempt देने के time पे I made sure that examples were there in my answers. And particularly this is very useful for GS3 because my GS3 marks improved from 70s to 90s this time. So that is a strategy for mains. Coming to political science and international relations. Now political science में paper 1 जो है, paper 1 part A, it's about political theory, then political thinkers, जो प्लेटो, एरिस्टोटल उनसे शुरू होके then कार्ल मार्क्स, ग्रामशी सब में आ जाता है. इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थिंकर्स भी थे, महात्मा गांधी, अंबेडकर, सईद अहमद खान, all of them. Then theories like theories of state, then different approaches in political science like liberalism, Marxism, then communitarianism, all those things were there. Then theories of justice, Rawlsian theory of justice, वो सब पार्ट ए में होता है. पार्ट बी में it is about Indian government and politics. तो यहाँ पे it is largely about Indian constitution, constitutional bodies, non-constitutional bodies, then different institutions like speaker, president, prime minister, and they are changing roles, governor, center-state relations, federalism, all those things are there in Indian government and politics. And then paper 2 is about international relations. In 2A, it is international relations theories like realism, liberalism, then Marxist theories, okay, and then different concepts like balance of power, then power is also another concept that is there in international relations. So the basic fundamental concepts of international relations and theories will be there in the part A of paper 2, and 2B is about Indian foreign policy. So Indian foreign policy mein, it will be about India's relations, the evolution of foreign policy from independence, and then there is about this India's relations with the major powers, US, then the Gulf countries, and then Russia, China, all these countries. So these are the main things in Indian foreign policy. And then the second paper जो है IR or foreign policy, it is largely dominated by current affairs. A lot of things happens in current affairs regarding these, so it's very important for the PSI students to get very updated about these issues. तो मैं क्या करता था कि I used to read newspapers and I used to make sure that any article about IR and foreign policy I used to read that. तो Indian Express में C राजा मोहन का articles, then प्रताप भानु मेहता का articles, then any other foreign policy जो former foreign secretaries जो है like Sham Sharan, then the scholars जो है like Harsh P. Pant, Happyman Jacob, उनके articles, make sure that you read those articles. That will be very helpful in putting key terms and also giving fresh perspectives in your answer. And also make sure that the quotes and the opinions given by the foreign minister and the prime minister is also there in the answers, so that it becomes adds value to your answer. So अगर example दी जाए तो about United Nations, the prime minister has said very interesting quotes about UN and its relevance and its problems. So you can actually give that as an intro. So you can just put that quote initially. If the question is about the UN reforms, you can put that quote by the prime minister. That will add a lot of value to your answer, and it makes very impressive to the examiner. So that is again one thing, and also the opinions and the statements made by the foreign minister can also be included in the answer. Okay, so if you can quote him directly, it will be very nice because that will be again adding a lot of value, and you can get more marks in your answers. So that is about my political science and my mains. So mains के लिए to summarize, what I did was I wrote, I made sure I had the lot of examples with me. A collection of examples was made as digital notes. Then also I took test series. I took multiple test series. So GS के लिए I took from iLearn, which is from Trivandrum, and Vajiram and Ravi also I took the test series for GS. For political science, I took from iLearn and also Shubhra Ranjan's crash course. That was very helpful. So these were tests I took, and for ethics, I took Lukman. Lukman also I took additionally. So write a lot of tests. Keep on writing tests. Even though daily you are not able to write, at least alternate days make sure that you write 3 hours test during the period between prelims and mains. तो आप प्रैक्टिस हो जाए कि 3 घंटा लिखे, और वो जो टाइम लिमिट है, जो 7 minutes 10 minutes जो टाइम लिमिट है, वो आप विद इन टाइम में लिख सकते हो. So make sure that you keep on practicing your answers. Keep on practicing writing answers within the time limits that is given by the UPSC. So that is what you can do in the case of mains. And also another thing I would like to add is that in my notes I also put something called as best practices. तो ये ज़्यादातर एग्जाम्पल जैसे ही है, बट जब कंक्लूशन आ जाता है फॉर सो इंट्रो बॉडी कंक्लूशन, दैट इज हाउ वी स्ट्रक्चर द आंसर. सो कंक्लूशन में you can give some case study or you can give some best examples. So that will help in actually including a value to your answer. तो अगर water conservation का कोई question आ जाता है, you can actually write something about mission Kakatiya by government of Telangana. This is the best practice. So you can give that example. Similarly, from any countries, from any states of India, any district of India, you can give some examples give some case study in the before conclusion. You can give that, and then you can conclude your answer. So just to give a gist of the answer, as I said, it's structured as introduction, body, and conclusion. So introduction, usually you can actually write some current affairs thing. So if a question is asked about, so last year, that is 25 May, they asked about tsunami. So कुछ महीने पहले there was a tsunami in Russia. So my intro was basically that Russia में tsunami हुआ था recently, in which this thing happened, so many people were killed. So it was a very severe natural disaster. To give that effect, I wrote that introduction. So in the body, you have to address the question. So what is tsunami? So what are the consequences of tsunamis? How can we take measures to control tsunamis? तो ये body हो जाती है. And conclusion में you can write about how we can deal with tsunamis, or how you can actually write about the goals of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Many toppers actually conclude their answers with SDGs. So you can by heart which SDG is what. So SDG 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this. So conclude your answer with SDG. You can write something about resilient infrastructure. So here one question is being asked. I will take the comments. So after I complete my strategy, then I will take the comments and I'll reply to the comments. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay. So what I'm saying is that I will write the conclusion that is basically on SDGs. If it's disaster management, you can write about the Sendai framework or Hyogo framework can be written. Sendai framework, because that is the latest one. Then also conclude the answer by giving the quotes of Prime Minister or Finance Minister. Okay, even intro you can actually do that. So for example, if we take the case of Naxalism, there is a quote that was given by a statement that was made by former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh about it being the most serious internal security issue. So you can take that quote directly and put in the intro. Okay, and in the conclusion you can say if Naxalism, it's question on Naxalism. Conclusion you can say about the government's Samadhan strategy. Okay, so make sure that some government policies, some government initiatives are brought into the later part of the answer. Okay, so if the question is about measures taken, so suppose the question is about let's say food security in India, and what are the measures the government has taken for food security. So you can give give the examples of some initiatives the government has taken. Okay, in the later part of the answer. And in conclusion, you can say about SDG 2, because that is zero hunger. That's how you can structure your answer. And you can also make your answers more impressive by giving, one is examples, second is you can also put in figures. Diagrams and flowcharts can be very useful. So for example, GS2, suppose the question is about civil services and the problems faced by civil services. So in the introduction, you can give a picture of, you can give a circle, you can give a hub and spoke diagram, civil services, and then you can write the importance of civil service. Some 3-4 keywords can be written, like let's say good governance, or you can give some other words. Okay, keywords can be added into this. That can also enrich your answer. And another thing is about include a lot of keywords in your mains answer. Okay, in my first main that I wrote, it was lacking in a lot of keywords. Suppose a question is asked about climate change and how India is dealing with it. You have to bring in words like Panchamrit goals. You have to bring words like CBDR, common but differentiated responsibilities. Now this ensures that the examiner knows that you know the subject technically to some depth. Okay, these are words which the policymakers often use. So bureaucrats often use these terms. So you also make sure that in your answers these terms are there. Key terms are very, very important. And you can also take in from toppers' answers. A lot of key terms can be there. So if the question is about malnutrition and hunger, there is something called the triple burden of malnutrition. So you can write about you can bring that term, triple burden of malnutrition. Okay, which includes undernutrition, overnutrition, and micronutrient deficiency. तो ऐसी स्ट्रक्चर कर सकते हैं. सो ज़्यादातर ये था मेरा मेंस का स्ट्रैटेजी एंड मेंस आंसर. तो प्रैक्टिस करती रहनी चाहिए. एवरी डे यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट कुछ आंसर्स लिखे, so that you are in touch with the subject and you don't forget things. Okay, so keeping on writing answers will ensure that you recollect very fast. Okay, और एग्जाम में कोई दिक्कत नहीं हो जाती है. So practice writing answers. तो ये था about means. Even for PSR I would say the same strategy, you have to practice a lot of answers. लेकिन एक थिंग एक चीज़ जो है मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ अबाउट द PSR आंसर्स. तो 10 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है, 15 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है, 20 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है. तो जब प्रैक्टिस करते टाइम आप ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन 10 मार्कर का ले सकते हैं. बिकॉज when you write more 10 markers you will be able to get the impact on 15 mark and 20 markers. बिकॉज बात ये हो जाती है सब लोगों को 20 मार्कर अच्छी तरह से वो लिख देते हैं. बिकॉज 4 पेजेस है और टाइम भी आपको है, तो ज़्यादातर लोग लिखते हैं कुछ, बिकॉज दे हैव द कंटेंट, सो कुछ ना कुछ लिख पाते हैं. लेकिन 10 मार्कर का ये चैलेंज है कि टाइम बहुत कम है एंड देन यू हैव टू गिव इन वेरी कंसाइज आंसर्स विद कंटेंट. तो कंटेंट होनी चाहिए, वो शॉर्ट होनी चाहिए एंड इट हैज बी शॉर्ट. सो इसीलिए 10 मार्कर ज़्यादा लिखते हैं तो इट विल बी वेरी नाइस फॉर यू, बिकॉज यू हैव द इफेक्ट 15 मार्कर्स एंड 20 मार्कर्स. This I've seen personally because I've experienced it personally because मेरा when I started practicing a lot of 10 markers, my marks started to improve in the test and also in the real exam. तो मेरा पहला PSR का जो marks था it was actually 212 I think. तो अभी मेरा इस साल का 271 है. तो that improvement I think is because of this. So that is about means and the optional as well. और एथिक्स के बारे एस्से के बारे में भी मैं बोल देता हूँ. तो एस्से के लिए मैंने ज़्यादा प्रिपेयर कुछ किया नहीं, बट वन थिंग आई डिड वाज आई केप्ट अ कलेक्शन ऑफ कोट्स और बाय ग्रेट पीपल. सो गांधी जी की जो कोट्स है, अम्बेडकर जी का कोट्स है, नेल्सन मंडेला का कोट्स. सो दे हैव सेड many things about different things, many quotes about different things. So you can directly include that in your essays. Okay. एंड यूजुअली मैं जैसे हर ऐसे हो जाता है, आई यूज टू प्रिपेयर स्टार्ट विद द स्टोरी एंड देन आई यूज टू गो टू द कोर पार्ट ऑफ द ऐसे एंड आई यूज टू मेक इट मल्टी डायमेंशनल एज मच एज पॉसिबल. तो पेस्टल अप्रोच हो सकती है, पॉलिटिकल, इकोनॉमिक, सोशल, वो अप्रोच यूज कर सकते हैं, और एनी अदर अप्रोच दैट यू आर फेमिलियर विद, बट मेक श्योर दैट द ऐसे इज एक्चुअली कवरिंग अ लॉट ऑफ एस्पेक्ट्स, ओके, एंड मेनी डायमेंशंस. तो ऐसे के लिए एक्स्ट्रा प्रिपरेशन कुछ किया नहीं, बिकॉज वॉट एवर वॉज टॉट इन वॉट एवर इज लर्न इन GS, वॉट एवर इज लर्न इन एथिक्स, दैट कैन बी यूज फॉर essay. But the language definitely has to be better. It has to be more it has to be impressive, because essay is not just writing, addressing the topic. Of course, it's addressing the topic, but it's also addressing in a more impressive way. That flair has to be there. You have to show your knowledge, you have to show your creativity there. So essay in that case, you have to practice a lot. As in any other GS papers, essay also you can practice. So weekly you can write one essay or 2 essays. That will be sufficient for you to actually perform well in the exam. And for essay, make sure that you spend enough time to prepare as to what to write. जो लिखना क्या है उसका brainstorming अच्छी तरह से होनी चाहिए, because then you can give a good essay. अगर पॉइंट्स पहले से ही आप कलेक्ट कर देते हैं, डायमेंशंस जो लिखना है वो पहले लिख देते हैं, देन योर essay becomes easier to write. Okay, so spend about 10-20 minutes, 10 minutes at least you have to spend for it, and then start writing the essay. Okay, जो पहला स्टोरी जो लिखना है, make sure that वो स्टोरी जो है that you record it in the rough space, and then spend time on how to expand on the essay. So that's how essay has to be tackled. Okay, then अगर इंटरव्यू की बात हो जाए तो that's all about mains. I think I have to say about main strategy. Now it's about interview. Now interview के लिए जो DAF जो है, DAF is the most important document. So I made sure that all the aspects of DAF was studied. So I made notes for interview actually. So for everything, my district, my state, then about the different things I've done in college. So achievements, जो sports का है, जो other things are there. For them also I made notes about hobbies. About hobbies also I made notes. So my hobby was reading. So about reading, why do I? So what is the benefit of reading for civil services? Is reading a dying habit? So a lot of questions I myself thought about what questions can be asked, and then I tried to answer those questions. That's what I did for my preparation in DAF. Then another important thing for interviews, current affairs. So during interview preparation, I read two newspapers. One was business newspaper, one was the general Hindu or Indian Express. Okay, so that's how reading current affairs is really important for interview preparation. And taking and I also had peer groups. So peer mock interviews, peer mocks used to happen. So we were a group of 4 people. So we used to ask questions to each other on a daily basis, and that also helped in improving our communication, in improving our speech, in tackling different sort of questions, different type of questions. Because our friends will be asking some very random questions, and that's how the real interview will also be. Because my interview was an interview where the interviewer did not ask anything from my dad, so it went a random way. So that's what happens to many people. Such random interviews can happen. We can practice that with the peer mocks. तो इंटरव्यू का ज़्यादातर यही है. इंटरव्यू में ऑल्सो वी हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट वी हैव इनफ स्पीकिंग प्रैक्टिस. बात ज़्यादा करनी चाहिए इस पीरियड में, इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन के टाइम पे. दैट्स अबाउट इंटरव्यू. So that is the strategy that I've done. I just check for any questions. So one thing regarding mains that I would like to add is about the toppers copies. So make sure that you read a lot of toppers copies for mains answers. उसमें से आपको एग्जाम्पल्स मिल जाएगा, डेटा मिल जाएगा, जो लिखने के जो पॉइंट्स वो मिल जाएंगे आपको. आप सीधा एग्जाम्पल उससे ले सकते हैं. तो एग्जाम्पल जो मैं लिया था, सो इन वन ऑफ द टॉपर्स कॉपीज आई सॉ अबाउट one topper writing about MS Dhoni and how he was a cool captain. So she used the word cool captain. तो मैंने भी इस मेंस में 2025 मेंस में there was a question about trouble and all. So you can check that question in the internet. You can find that there's a quote by Thiruvalluvar. So that quote is basically about we have to stay cool in situations of stress. तो उसमें मैं ये एग्जाम्पल सीधा वहाँ से लिया था. I wrote about MS Dhoni as a cool captain. So that's how toppers copies will be very helpful. So मैंने बोला था कि examples में जो लिया था, a lot of them were actually from toppers copies. तो toppers copies का आंसर, toppers copies का examples and points I noted in my notes. That's how we have to actually analyze the toppers copies. And one more thing you can do is जो ऑनलाइन में जो टॉपर्स कॉपीज मिलती है, जो क्वेश्चन है वो आप लिख सकते हैं उसका आंसर, और आपका आंसर और टॉपर का आंसर आपको यू कैन एक्चुअली कंपेयर. वो कंपेयर करने के बाद आपको पता लगेगा कि कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम हुई है और कहाँ पे आप इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं. ओके, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो वन थिंग यू कैन डू. सो एंड ऑल्सो वन थिंग इज दैट टॉपर्स कॉपी में डोंट थिंक दैट टॉपर्स हैव ऑलवेज रिटन दी बेस्ट आंसर, बिकॉज दे आर ऑल्सो इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ लर्निंग. ओके, तो ऐसा हो सकता है कि यू हैव रिटन अ बेटर आंसर दैन दैट इन सम केसेस. Okay, so always take the toppers copies with a pinch of salt. Not that whatever they have written is always the right or the best one. Okay, you can always give your own flavor, your own flair to the answer. That is another thing that I would like to say. To say about newspapers, newspaper reading for mains as well as prelims. Don't spend too much time reading newspapers, because that can actually hamper your preparation for other subjects, other GS subjects. So within 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes at max, you have to finish the habit of finish reading newspapers. Okay, and the editorial page is the most important. Make sure you read the articles in that page. Okay, and one more thing that you can do for prelims as well as mains and even for interview is reading the explained part of Indian Express. That is really very helpful because it's very concise and it discusses issues from all the perspectives. So that will be very useful for writing answers. Okay, that is another thing that I would like to share with you. Then also keep a map with you always for prelims and for mains. So mains के टाइम पे geography के आंसर में you have to actually draw the map. So practice drawing maps, the world map and India map, within a matter of few seconds. Okay, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Practice drawing the maps. Okay, so that's very important for geography. And for history also, maps is very important. Suppose a question is asked about stupas, you can write about stupa, Sanchi stupa. So draw कर सकते हैं, and then you can show the location of stupas. Okay, so maps are important for history, for geography as well. Okay, India map as well as world map. That is another thing. And for constitution answers, polity answers, uh, make sure you have articles. Okay, the articles are, you have to be thorough about the articles. Which article is what? Okay, so the introduction itself can be about the articles. Suppose a question is asked about governor, so start about which article says about the governor. Suppose the question is about attorney general, says which article is about attorney general. So ये answer, the intro itself is like very strong. Okay, the base itself is very strong. So आपको उसमें अच्छा marks आ सकते हैं. Okay, so that is one thing that you can add value to your answer. So adding value to your answer comes from adding unique points. तो unique points examples हो सकती है, case study हो सकती है, articles हो सकता है. Okay, so that's how you can, maps हो सकती है. Okay, that can give more information. Okay, maps will be giving more information to the examiner. And then putting a lot of keywords. This is what actually adds value to your answer. Okay, keywords is very important. And just one more thing, ethics में keywords, make sure you keep on adding keywords. Okay, that will give you more marks. So instead of writing leadership, write moral leadership, and keep on adding words like integrity, transparency, accountability. Even in case study you can do this. Okay, in case study maybe आप लिख सकते हैं keywords. I have seen many people writing keywords in case studies. Okay, like transparency, accountability, integrity, empathy. Okay, so these are important things that has to be there in the answer for ethics. Because ethics में the examiner knows you that you're ethical by writing words, the keywords. ज़्यादा ethical words लिखते हैं, there is more, the examiner feels that you are more ethical. Okay, that is the basic thing. Okay, then I think I will take a few more questions now. Okay, I have a lot of questions. Just making multidimensional notes for mains is correct approach. Tell me so. Okay, so it is important that if you are making notes, it has to be multidimensional. So you can adopt different approaches. Like as I said, pestle approach is one you can use. Okay, pestle approach is one thing. There are other frameworks available, so if you want you can use those as well, but pestle approach is very useful. Okay, you can actually use that approach for multi-dimensional notes. Congratulations, thank you. Also, which coaching should I join for GS Foundation for strong basics? See, I cannot suggest you personally which coaching institute. Depends on your location and your comfort as well. So I was living in Kerala, so I took coaching, GS Foundation coaching in Kerala itself. So I think that depends on your personal factors and your preferences. So I covered pre-syllabus of the major 5 subjects. How should I start for mains? Could you please elaborate? Should I start making notes separately for each subtopic? See, if you covered prelims syllabus, then for mains, for mains, what you can do is, of course, making notes is important here. For each subtopic, yes, you can do that. That is one thing. But the most important thing of preparing mains, I think, is to start writing answers. Okay, start writing answers and see how you are able to answer a question. What are the positives and what are negatives in your answer? Compare with toppers' answers and make sure that you have enough content with you. Okay, so for mains, see, if you have covered prelims syllabus, you should be able to write a decent mains answer. Okay, that's not a problem. But if and I would suggest making notes can be really helpful in the case of mains. Okay, so for each topic, if you have notes, it will be very nice. I didn't have notes for each subtopic. I did not prepare notes for each subtopic. Mine was just GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4. That's it. And GS3, I had notes specifically. For example, I made for food processing. I made for agriculture because those were parts from which a lot of questions were asked. Agriculture, for example. Okay. So could you please assist for history for upcoming prelims? So I will tell what I did for my prelims. तो मैंने NCERT ओल्ड NCERT पढ़ा था, ओल्ड NCERT टेक्स्ट बुक, द एंशिएंट मेडिवल ज़्यादा पढ़ा नहीं मैं, बिकॉज क्वेश्चंस वर नॉट कमिंग. तो आप अगर देखते हैं UPSC की हिस्ट्री में मेडिवल इतना ज़्यादा पूछा नहीं है. मेडिवल में यू कैन फोकस ऑन सर्टन एम्पायर्स. सो विजयनगर एम्पायर, Chola empires, so South Indian empires basically are the places from which UPSC has repeatedly asked questions. So please focus on those empires. जहाँ पे UPSC has focused on a particular empires, please do give emphasis on those empires. Okay, and that will be very useful. Chola के बारे में UPSC has asked many times, so you have to read. विजयनगरा के बारे में पूछा है, you have to read. Compulsory you have to read those empires. Pallavas also you have to read. That is important thing here for medieval. For modern history, spectrum is important. You have to read spectrum, the textbook spectrum for modern India. For ancient, if you are not comfortable with the old NCERT, you can depend on the Tamil Nadu SCERT textbook. But यहाँ पे be careful because Tamil Nadu SCERT is useful for prelims only. तो अगर मेंस के लिए अगर आप लेना चाहते हैं then it won't be enough. Okay, but आपने prelims के बारे में पूछा है तो SCERT का textbook आप ले सकते हैं. Tamil Nadu SCERT you can read it. It's very short and it is very factual. So last year the questions were like which king of Pallava dynasty was Chitragarapuli or something they asked. You can easily get it from even NCERT also you can get the answer from this Tamil Nadu SCERT also you can get the answer. Okay, reading the NCERT text, then if possible SCERT, and then also for this PYQs are very important. Okay, so PYQs are important here because there can be questions linked questions can be asked. So last year जो पूछा था उसका कोई expansion will be asked next year. So PYQs are also very important here. Where do you get your motivation from, sir? तो civil service की जो motivation मेरे लिए first of all when I was working for an NGO. So वहाँ पे I used to go to the field and I saw how actually joining the government can be very useful for serving people. So that was the main motivation that came. So I left my job and started preparing for the civil services exam. Sir, hello sir, which coaching should I join for GS Foundation for strong? हाँ तो अगर which coaching जो है जो आपको ये तो आपको personally decide करना है depending on your location, depending on your personal preferences. Okay. Good evening sir, my name is Ronak. I'm currently going to 11th. So please tell me which student is in. See, I'm not the person to actually suggest which stream you have to take. I took commerce in 11th standard. You can take PCM or you can take humanities. You can take whatever. See, if you like a particular subject, go for that. If you like PCM, go for PCM. If you like humanities, then go for humanities. It depends on how you like and you are interested in a particular discipline or particular domain. Okay, that's all. Because don't think that taking humanities only will help you in civil services. So many engineers are giving civil service and they are actually clearing the exam. So it doesn't make much of a difference whether you have taken commerce or PCM or computer science or humanities in your 11th and 12th. But make sure that you keep the habit of reading newspapers, you have the habit of reading, which can help you in the civil service exam. Okay. So your optional, political science is my optional. So how many years did you prepare? So my preparation, so as I said, I start my work in 2021 and I resign my job in 2023. So I start my serious preparation in 2023. So it has been like 2.5 years now. So 23, 24, 25, almost 3 years I have given for the exam. So please provide GS2. I think you asked about GS2 strategy. Okay, I just explain GS2 strategy here. So GS2 में ज़्यादा will be the questions will be about constitution, polity, international relations, governance, civil services, development sector, then SHGs. That's what will be there in GS2. So constitution, polity, you will definitely have the basic foundation knowledge from Lakshmikant. That will be that is not 100% enough for the mains. For that you have to read so additional knowledge has to be gained from newspapers, and additional coaching materials if it is there, have to depend on that. Okay, so whatever coaching institute you're joining, they will be providing you with additional notes, so please do read that. Okay, for constitution and for constitution. So as I said about constitution, when they ask questions on polity, to add value to the answer, give articles, case laws. I missed about case laws. Now I'm mentioning it. Do actually mention about case laws in your answer. Okay, so case laws can be adding value to your answer. Okay, So case laws will be like so Supreme Court ने अगर कोई अगर important issue gender justice में which all cases are there, keep note of that. So I made actually short notes on, I made a table of important judgments and what the judgment is about. Okay, so that also you can do. What are the important judgments and what did it say? So let's say there's an important judgment about recently there was judgment about governance. Okay, so it's about federalism, it's about center-state relations. Okay, so that is very important for GS2 constitution answers. For international relations, current affairs is really important because many of the questions will be directly from current affairs. Okay, so if there is something, so now there is the Israel-Iran war happening, so you can expect a question about that in the means. Okay, so it's largely inspired from current affairs, and then also about institutions like UN, India's argument for UN reforms. Okay, these are things which you have to keep note of in international relations. India's relations with neighbors, India's relations with major powers, US, Russia, China, Gulf countries. Okay, that is important. And how is and also the and again for the international relations, key terms are very important, and key terms here can be like putting in the words used by the diplomats. Let's say neighborhood first policy, or what is this there? Net security provider, then Sagar policy, Mahasagar policy. So these kind of words, these kind of key terms, please do give your answers in GS2 for international relations, because that will be helping you in making in enriching your answers. Then coming to governance, civil services, I think there will be coaching materials available on this, which you can always depend on, and you can also look into the PYQ for these questions, because there is a lot of repetition in these questions. Okay, about civil services, about governance and all. So that is how we can tackle governance, and coaching materials will be sufficient there. That's all about GS2, and even things about self-help groups, development sector, NGOs. Coaching materials will be there, but always put in, as I said, current affairs materials and examples into your answer. Okay, so suppose there will be a question about FCRA, the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, how it impacts NGOs. So you have to say what are the positives, what are the negatives, what are the concerns. Okay, and you can give examples of examples where some NGOs have actually did some wrong thing. You can give the data of what the IB said about the loss to GDP because of the activism by many NGOs. So all those things can be added to your answer. Okay, that will enrich your answers. Does 12th marks matter in UPSC? Doesn't matter. There is no problem in whatever marks you get in 12th standard, 10th standard for UPSC. What is standard materials for mains? The standard materials, whatever the textbooks that you read for prelims will be there. For example, geography, physical geography is important for mains. और कोई मटेरियल्स जो है जो कोचिंग मटेरियल्स जो है दैट यू कैन डिपेंड ऑन, बिकॉज उसमें ज़्यादातर कंसाइज करके दे बी गिविंग यू नोट्स. ओके, तो कोचिंग मटेरियल्स विल बी यूजफुल फॉर मेंस. देन फंडामेंटल टेक्स्ट बुक्स जो भी है दैट विल ऑल्सो बी सफिशिएंट फॉर मेंस, प्लस न्यूज़पेपर्स एंड करंट अफेयर्स. दैट इज अगेन important. As you keep on focusing on current affairs, keep on reading the Express Explained, that can give you depth about what's happening right now. Does 12th marks matter? No. How to do a UPSC with job, sir? Okay, so UPSC with job, my initial phase of my preparation was actually with job. तो मैं UPSC का preparation जब शुरू किया था तब मेरे पास जॉब था. सो उस टाइम प्रॉब्लम ये था कि ये बैलेंस करना थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है. थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट नहीं, बहुत डिफिकल्ट है एक्चुअली. तो मेरा काम 6 o'clock तक था. उसके बाद मैं उसके बाद मैं घर आके आई यूज टू लिसन टू द क्लासेस, बिकॉज क्लासेस वॉज फ्रॉम 7 to 9. ओके, सो दैट्स हाउ माई डे वॉज देयर. सो ऑफिस से आने के बाद आई यूज टू लिसन टू द क्लास, एंड देन इफ आई हैव सम टाइम आई यूज टू स्टडी. Otherwise, what I do is I make use of the early morning. So early morning is when you can study whatever has been taught yesterday. That is one thing you can do. So before going to office, you can actually start reading. Okay, you can study for some time. Let's say you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start reading for 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay, or let's say 4 hours. वो आपको बहुत that will be very productive, will be very very useful for you. Okay, and then for working professionals, I think you have to spend a lot of time during weekends. तो सैटरडे संडे छुट्टी मिल जाती है, तो उस टाइम पे you can spend a lot of time for studies. That is one thing you can do. Then thirdly, what you can do is you have to choose an option that is concise and option that can actually help you in GS as well. तो अगर आप PSI लेते हैं, the syllabus is very vast, but अगर आपकी इंटरेस्ट है, then PSI का ये advantages there that GS is also covered to an extent, GS2, but in GS2 a lot of parts in GS2 is covered by PSI. Okay, that is another thing. These are things about for UPSC with job, and also you have to, another thing is you have to be very disciplined. तो अगर आपको बहुत डिसिप्लिन रहना पड़ता है, यूजुअल एस्पिरेंट के इससे ज़्यादा आपको डिसिप्लिन रहनी चाहिए, बिकॉज ज़्यादा डिस्ट्रैक्शन भी हो सकता है फॉर वर्किंग प्रोफेशनल्स, सो यू हैव टू कंट्रोल दैट. आपको सोशल इंटरेक्शंस कम करनी पड़ेगी, सो ऑल दोस थिंग्स हैव टू यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड. व्हाट इज़ योर एजुकेशन बैकग्राउंड? तो मैंने अपना इंटीग्रेट MA किया था डेवलपमेंट स्टडीज़ में फ्रॉम IIT मद्रास. कंसिस्टेंसी, तो कंसिस्टेंसी इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द एग्जाम. तो प्रीलिम्स हो या मेंस हो, इंटरव्यू हो, तो कंसिस्टेंसी इज़ रियली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यू हैव टू कीप ऑन रीडिंग डेली. ठीक है, तो अगर आप 5 दिन पढ़ रहे हैं, डेली आपको पढ़नी चाहिए. एंड देन इट्स नॉट लाइक यू हैव टू स्टडी फॉर 5 days कंटिन्यूसली एंड देन यू टेक 3 days ब्रेक. ऐसा नहीं होनी चाहिए. यू हैव टू रीड डेली. अगर एक दिन थोड़ा कम पढ़े तो ठीक है, बट यू कैन कीप वीकली टारगेट्स. तो सपोज आप सोच रहे हैं कि इस वीक में आई विल बी स्टडिंग 50 hours. मेक श्योर दैट यू स्टडी 50 hours. Okay, that's how you can bring consistency. So keep targets. So consistency के लिए another thing is you have to keep targets. Every day you decide as to what I will study today. तो वो आपको वो target रखनी चाहिए. Make sure that you finish the target, okay, on that day. That's how you can actually maintain consistency. Another thing about consistency is you have to keep on test भी आपको थोड़ा consistency देने में help करेगा. Keep on giving test, okay, so that you read and then you go and attempt test, then you read again, test again, so consistency will be there. How to read NCERTs, please? See, NCERT पढ़ना, as I said, don't read all the NCERTs. Only very few NCERTs you have to read for the exam. Class 11 का constitutional work is important. Then class 11-12 का history textbooks are really very important. Geography textbooks are very important. Or Indian society also is important. Okay, so only read those kind of textbooks which are very important. And सपोज आपको लगता है कि आपका नॉलेज एक फील्ड में बहुत कम है, तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेरा जोग्राफी इज नॉट वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग एरिया फॉर मी, सो फॉर दैट आई एक्चुअली रेड क्लास 8, क्लास 7, क्लास 9 टेक्स्ट बुक एंड आई रेड फॉर जोग्राफी. ओके, दैट यू कैन डू. ओके, सो इन NCERT you can, because NCERT is a very has a very simple language. Okay, very simple language है, तो आप आराम से पढ़ सकते हैं. ओके, बट इफ यू वांट यू कैन रीड मल्टीपल टाइम्स एंड देन यू कैन गो टू द फंडामेंटल टेक्स्ट बुक्स. ओके, और NCERT का जो नोट्स है, आई डोंट थिंक इज वेरी एसेंशियल. NCERT की नोट्स बनाना ज़्यादा कंपलसरी नहीं है, बिकॉज दैट वुड बी आई थिंक वेस्टिंग योर टाइम. बिकॉज नोट्स यू हैव टू मेक फ्रॉम द फंडामेंटल टेक्स्ट बुक्स. ओके, लाइक फ्रॉम लक्ष्मीकांत और फ्रॉम स्पेक्ट्रम. एजुकेशन बैकग्राउंड में बोल चुका हूँ. 12 हाउ टू रीड NCERT, आफ्टर 12 हाउ टू रीड NCERT एंड हाउ टू मेक नोट्स और नॉट. तो मैं वही बोल रहा था कि NCERT का नोट्स बनाना इज नॉट कंपलसरी. आई डिड नॉट मेक नोट्स फॉर NCERTs. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, देन यू कैन मेक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जोग्राफी आई थिंक यू कैन मेक फ्रॉम NCERT. ओके, हाउ टू रीड NCERT, सी एस एस ओनली सेलेक्टिव बुक्स हैव टू बी रेड फॉर the UPSC exam, not all the NCERTs. Okay, जो NCERT मैं personally बोला हूँ that you have to read compulsorily. What is your education background? 12 marks matter. Then Tino, 12 marks doesn't matter. So Lakshmikant, I'm facing problems in studying. Just taking months to study. I know not releasing even second reading. अच्छा, तो आई थिंक दैट टाइम बिकॉज फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दी रीडिंग स्पीड, वन इज अबाउट रीडिंग स्पीड. सो आप एक काम कर सकते हैं, ट्राई टू इंक्रीज योर रीडिंग स्पीड. दैट विल हेल्प यू इन रीडिंग मोर पेजेस. सो कीप टारगेट. सो थिंक अबाउट finishing this many chapters today. Suppose you take, let's say I will be finishing Parliament within 2 hours. I will be finishing DPSP in 1 hour or 30 minutes. So keep such targets and then study. I think that will help you in finishing it faster. That should be releasing your faster. And then another thing is that you can make notes of Lakshmikant in the first reading, and the second reading don't read the Lakshmikant textbook entirely. You can actually study the notes. I think this record video and fooled us. नहीं record video नहीं है. The thing is that I was giving my strategy first, and then I will be finishing your addressing your questions. So how to read books and notes, how to remember them. See, how to read books. See, just like जब आप स्कूल और कॉलेज में पढ़ते थे, just treat in the same way. Okay, ऐसे ही पढ़नी चाहिए. But for UPSC के लिए, make sure that whatever you read, you feel that is important for the syllabus part, that is important for the exam part. अगर कोई सेंटेंस आप पढ़ रहे हैं, अगर वो आपको प्रीलिम्स में या मेंस में यूज हो सकता है, keep note of that. Put that in your notes. That is one important thing. Okay, how to remember them? See, remember will happen if you do something consistently. So revision is really important. Keep on revising. That will help you in remembering things. Okay, and revision has to happen within short periods. So अगर आज आप एक chapter पढ़ते हैं, तो don't read the chapter in next month. Read the chapter of, let's say, in 1 week's time. Okay, so that will help you in actually revising and remembering things. Notes by name, I told how I made notes. My notes is not the usual notes that others make, because I not make very detailed notes. Mine was largely collection of examples, collection of certain facts for the mains exam. और prelims के लिए मैंने ज़्यादा notes बनाए नहीं हैं. I used to read the PYQs and the fundamental textbooks. So I only scored 65 marks in UPSC prelims, and this time too I'm only getting 75. Can you make 100+, please? Okay, so in this case, first of all, look into how many attempts you are giving. So attempts, if you're giving few attempts, less attempts, try to increase the number of attempts. That is one thing. Secondly, make use of logical and analytical abilities in writing, in giving the answers. जो MCQ solving ability है, problem solving ability है, उसको improve करने के लिए सोचिए. Okay, give more and more tests. Now we have actually 2 months. Okay, April and May. So give as many tests as possible. I saw, you can give how many tests possible. You can get from online resources. A lot of tests you can get. Okay, and another thing, if you feel that you are lacking in knowledge, then you read in detail the answer keys. Okay, जो answer keys जो coaching institute देते हैं, you actually have to read those answer keys. Okay, and this will help you in increasing the score. Okay, but keep on using during exam. Stay very calm, stay very composed. Okay, and feel very confident. Don't feel that this is going to be very tough, because the exam is going to be exam will be having a lot of questions which we might not know, but try to make use of a logic and a common sense to answer those questions. Hello, bhaiya. So what attempt was it? So this attempt was 4th attempt, as I said initially. I go to UPSC 25. Okay, all the best for the exam. Bhaiya, I am in my 2nd semester of BBA. I'm preparing for CSC to become IPS. So what should I do and what not to do? Okay, so you are in college now. So I think in whatever time you get in your college, start reading. Of course, newspapers. One thing, make sure that you read newspapers on daily basis. That is one thing. And second thing is about you can, if you want, you can start some coaching classes, because some coaching institutes, I think many of them are now giving coaching to the college going students. You can join those, and you can get you can join the classes for that. That will also be useful. And make sure you have the resource with you, the NCERT textbooks, because you can start reading NCERTs. That's very easy to read. So you can read those NCERTs and make sure that you have a very solid foundation now itself. Okay, because maybe next 2 to 3 years you'll be giving the exam. So the foundation knowledge will be very strong. That's one thing. And once you finish the NCERT, then you can do the fundamental textbooks. What is history resource NCERT, old versus new NCERT? What do you prefer? So I had read mostly the old NCERT. The new NCERTs, that depends on people. Some people do use new NCERT, but I personally have used the old NCERTs. I found it has more information, it has more more facts in it. So I think for prelims at least you need more facts. So the old ones might be better. Please tell best way to read NCERT, how to read subject to subject or class to class. See, I would prefer to read subject, okay, rather than class to class. So subject to subject is more beneficial. So let's say that I want to read history, go to 11th and 12th, 11th class, so, textbook. Okay. Rather than reading class, like there is no need for reading class 6 to 12th of history. That would be a waste of time. What about notes? As I said, NCERT textbooks, it's not essential that you make notes. How to remember history, especially ancient history. So, as I said, remembering anything, be it in history, it is about revising a lot of times. Okay. One thing, as I said, is the Tamil Nadu SCRT textbook. So SCRT textbook is very small. It's very simple language. It's a lot of facts. So it is very easy. So that's one thing which is very easy to remember. Okay, you can keep because you can easily revise because it's very short textbook. Okay, so that's one thing you can do for ancient history. And one thing is do a sort of mental map. Okay, a mind map where you start to treat history as a story, and you start to see it as a tale where one dynasty comes after next. After that, what happens? So you remember the history as a story, then it becomes easy to remember. Okay, because otherwise, just learning the years and chronology becomes very difficult to remember. That's why read history as a story. Okay, I think that will help you in dealing with the issue of memory. That's what I did because I used to make a map of when this thing started and how different dynasties evolved. Different empires came and fell and came, and that will help you in actually remembering things. Telegram ID. You can search my name, Nithin Pradeep. I think that's my Telegram ID. Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Which coaching did I join? See, the GS Foundation coaching, that depends on the personal preference. Management type coaching, NCRTs. See, I said things about NCRTs. I think it's clear. What history is okay? So mistakes did you make, sir? Mistakes you made first attempt, my first mains at least, the mistakes I made was not reading the toppers copies was one thing that I did, was a major problem. Second, I was writing points, but I was not giving enough examples in my answers and enough data in my answers. That also was a problem. I think these two mistakes were really brought down my marks in the first mains, which I was able to rectify in the next mains. Consistency, I said about consistency. How should PYQs be analyzed? See, PYQs, you read the PYQs, you read the answers. You can read the answer keys as well. That is there in some textbooks. But beyond that, go and check what is happening about it in current affairs, whether this is still relevant. Okay. And also, another thing is that once you read about a PYQ, you can read that back in the textbook. For example, a lot of questions are asked from Parliament. Okay, so suppose you take, your duty is to go back, take Lakshmikant and read Parliament multiple times. Okay, because that will help you in your real exam. Because UPSC asks from all angles: Parliament, bills, money bills, Lok Sabha versus Rajya Sabha, then the powers of the election of president, governor. All these things are asked by UPSC. So keep on reading these particular parts. Wherever a lot of questions are coming in the PYQs, read those from the fundamental textbooks. Okay. And otherwise, if you don't have enough resource with you, Google, at least Google on a particular topic and read that. That would be the best method of actually analyzing PYQs. And also, when you analyze PYQs, try to answer a particular question based on logic, on your personal logic and common sense, and check whether you are getting those answers right. Okay. Do questions get repeated from PYQs? Yes, questions do get repeated from PYQs. Even though exact repetition might not be there, UPSC asks the same thing from different angles and different perspectives. So questions are repeated for prelims as well as mains. Which coaching you joined for GS Foundation? So in Trivandrum, in Kerala, I joined coaching, a place called iLearn. How many revisions did you did till now? What do you revision field stuff? How many mock theory means GS was option? How you prepared language paper English, Hindi, this burnout and preparation? So I've given multiple revisions, many revisions I've given. I don't remember exact numbers of how many times I did. So mocks for prelims. For my first prelims, that's my the last year prelims. I'd given like maybe 20 mocks, I think, including the sectionals as well as the full test. For mains, I had given a complete test from the institute I was taking my coaching. I took from Vajiram. Then optional also, I took about eight tests per day. I took for mains. For the language papers, English and mine was Malayalam. I did not face. I did not prepare for it as such. So that's important. So that's one thing. I don't think you have to prepare as such for English and your language paper. If you're comfortable in writing and understanding, it's okay. In English, they ask basic things about grammar, then translations, writing an essay. You anyways write essay for your GS for your for mains. So this essay is like very small essay you have to write. It's easy for you. I'm doing BA Political Science at DU. How can I join MA in Development Studies? IT Madras. Okay, so after the BA, you have to give, I think, an entrance exam for MA in Development Studies for IT Madras. Okay, I think it happens. The entrance happening through GATE exam. I'm not exactly sure because now the integrated MA that I have taken, it is not there. Now they have made a 2-year MA in IT Madras. Okay, so they have. So I think it's GATE exam that they take the students. That you attempt in 2027. So as I said, start reading newspapers. So initially, definitely you will take a lot of time reading newspapers, but continue at least reading newspapers. Even if you're taking 2 hours, read it daily, because I can guarantee you after a few months, after a few weeks, you will definitely start reading newspapers on a faster basis. Okay, you'll finish it fast, and simultaneously read the NCRTs. Okay, the NCRTs which I suggested, you can definitely start reading that. You can start with the Indian Constitution work, class 11 textbook. Okay, that is one thing which you can do, and then slowly you can start reading more NCRTs. Okay, then proceed to fundamental textbooks like Lakshmikant. Okay. See, current affairs, as I said, read newspapers daily. I am not dependent on any this current affairs compilations. I don't think it's necessary as well. Reading newspapers daily. If you want to make notes, you can make notes. Otherwise, also it's not. It's fine. No doubts about how to see. Don't worry too much about current affairs. There can be. See why I'm saying don't worry too much about current affairs, because make sure that you have a very strong static knowledge. Okay, static knowledge is really important for your prelims as well as mains. Okay, and link that with current affairs. Okay, don't worry too much about current affairs. Read newspapers daily. Have a sense of what's happening around. Okay, around India, around your state, around the world. Okay, have that sense of what's happening around. That's really important. But don't worry too much. As I said, read newspapers. Okay, a daily. You can read Explained in Indian Express. You can read the Hindu newspaper. Okay, make sure. So reading these will help you in actually keeping track of events. How to make notes of current affairs? See, if you're making notes of current affairs, it's like answering the questions of what, when, how. So suppose you're taking one issue. So let's say the issues about the recent war between Israel and Iran. So in that case, you have to answer in your notes. You have to answer questions of why the war happened, what is the current status of the war, then what is Iran's reaction, and what are the major weapon systems used. All these things has to be there in the notes. Okay, so that's a holistic notes can be made. From mains perspective, definitely it can be about how to deal with the wars. Okay, what are the solutions that can be there. These becomes part of the mains answer. Okay, I think that's clear. Yeah. See, decoding. See, what I did was I just looked at the broad subjects in mains. Okay, in each GS papers, and I made the notes for each of that. So let's say in GS1 in history and geography. So in my GS1 note, I wrote only I wrote about history, then about geography. That's it. Okay. So look at the subjects broadly. So in GS2 you have IR, polity, then governance. GS3 you have economics, internal security, disaster management. Okay, so keep these broad subjects in mind and then make notes. I think that would be helpful. Don't think about making. There are people who make notes on each subtopic, each line of the syllabus. Maybe that's not what I did. So when you have to make notes, see while you read the textbook, while you read the textbook, you can start making the notes out of it. Okay. Which coaching you join for foundation? As I said, it's in Trivandrum, Island. Best online coaching. See, I'm no one to suggest which coaching institute is best for online. So what is for economy? For economy, there is a textbook by Nithin Singhania, Indian economy. That's what I followed for the basic economics. Then current affairs you have to focus on. The newspaper articles that comes in are important for economy. Okay. Then economics. So for mains, economic survey is also very important, and budget. Economic survey will give you all the data sets. All the latest data set will be there in economic survey. So compulsorily you have to read economic survey. 44 for economy. Do you consider coaching or self-study? See, I think that coaching can help you in providing you some guidance initially. So for that purpose, if you don't have any idea about the exam, I think it's important to join coaching. But otherwise, self-study can also be done. But for self-study, there should be enough motivation and inspiration to continue. How to increase reading speed? See, reading speed will increase when once you keep on consistently reading. Okay, don't actually think that my speed is not increasing. Daily read. Okay, keep some target. As I said, keep a target of how many pages I'll finish. So you take textbook of spectrum, and then morning you decide I'll be finishing 30 pages in 2 hours. Okay, so finish it. After a few days, reduce. Try to keep a target which is less. So let's say you finish. So earlier it was 20 pages in 2 hours. Now it is like 30 pages in 2 hours. Okay, so keep targets and then read. That should be increasing your reading speed. And once you are getting adapted to the language, adapted to the words and the vocabulary, I think the speed should normally increase. I made notes for coaching and students, but they gave very bulky material. What should I learn when I have to make my notes? See, don't make your notes bulky. Keep the most important things only in your notes. Only the most important things. Okay, because once you start writing everything, then there is no point in making notes. Okay, so structure your notes. You can look at the notes of toppers and then make it very concise. So you can address the questions of what, how, when. That format can be used, or you can use the pestle approach, political economic. That approach can be used to make it multidimensional. So use frameworks for making notes rather than just writing things. Okay, so your objective is to make the maximum out of the notes that you make. Okay, you make notes and then you get the maximum for your exam, be it mains or prelims. So keep your notes very concise. Don't make your notes bulky. Keep your notes very concise. What you think are the most important for the exam, note only those things in your notes. How many days it takes after one time reading? How many days it takes in revision? How many times we should see? How many times you can revise it? There are many people who revise it multiple times. There are people who revise it 10 times, 12 times. It depends how many times you feel. Once you feel that you are thorough about the procedures, about articles, then you can actually know to read the entire textbook. Okay, from that time. See how many times days it takes. That depends on people to people. Some might take it 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It depends on people to people. Okay, I cannot say it how many days it will take. Give me. Okay. See the schedule for the exam. What I used to do is initially I get up in the morning. And then I start preparing for the options. Okay, for about 3-4 hours in the morning I'll preparing options. Then after that I shift to GS. Okay, and then I'll prepare my GS and start preparing GS. Any subject from GS. It can be polity, it can be economy. And then the next 3-4 hours will be spent on GS paper. And then in a day I also spend some time for this PYQs, prelims for prelims as well as mains. Okay, and that's how we use the structure. And also 1 hour daily for newspapers. That is how I set aside my time daily. That's a total about 8 to 9 or 10 hours that I spent for studying. Okay, how to avoid FOMO of everything is important. See, there will be FOMO because if you're using social media, definitely you can have FOMO. So one thing is you can reduce the time that you spend on social media. Maybe that can reduce FOMO. Second, talk with your friends, talk with your family. That can motivate you, inspire you, and will keep you grounded. Okay, and uh, avoid distractions. As I said, don't get distracted by social media and things like that. So necessary to revise also is daily. It's not necessary to revise all of them daily. It depends on how you are structuring your preparation. Suppose like you are, as I said, if you go to coaching, and I was going to, when I was going to coaching, 1 week polity is happening, is being taught. At the end of the week, I'll be revising. That's how I did. How to do CSAT study? See, for CSAT, as I said, if you're looking for comprehension, do practice a lot of comprehension passages from the previous year question papers, and also coaching. This test will be there, no, for CSAT. Take those. Okay, that will be enough for the comprehension passages. For maths, make sure you have the fundamental formulas ready with you. Okay, by heart all the formulas. Okay, then that will be helping you in solving most of the questions. What are your thoughts on caste system in UPSC? I don't know what to say about that. Practice essay writing. See, essay writing practice is basically uh, you actually can read about. One thing you can do is initially take one topic of the previous year essay topics and try to brainstorm it. Okay, try to brainstorm what points you'll be adding, what all things you can add. Okay, think about it. Okay, and note down. That is the initial point of preparation, initial method of starting the essay preparation, and then you can start writing your own essay. Or otherwise, you can read few toppers copies and then you can start writing complete essay. But the initial part is definitely to brainstorm, a lot of brainstorm. Okay, so before starting the essay writing practice, brainstorm many times, many essay topics. Keep on brainstorming. Okay, this brainstorming will help you in actually giving a very good essay. Okay, and this brainstorming thing can be done even for the GS answers. I forgot to mention, even for GS answers, you can mention about you can actually do brainstorming. Many toppers do that. Initially, at least in the initial stage, you can do that. So maybe reading speed बहुत slow है. I have to plus page add. That's why I said keep targets. If you want to increase reading speed, keep targets and then read. Okay, that is one important thing that you can do. And also, if you have the habit of reading, try to take up the hobby of reading. Let's say because you'll be reading newspapers, you'll be reading textbooks, you'll be reading things. Try to you do one thing. If you are interested in reading a particular subject, start reading that, because that will be increasing your speed naturally. Suppose if you like the subject of economics, take a book of economics and read it. That will definitely increase your speed. That should be increasing your speed. Slowly that will spill over into other subjects as well. That is my expectation. That's what I can say to you now. Okay. How to start from zero? So first of all, I said start reading news from zero. First thing is start reading newspapers. Secondly, start reading NCRTs. That is how you have to start from zero. That's what I did. Start reading newspapers. Coaching is giving previous foundation course. Should we take it? See, every coaching institute actually gives prelims cum mains. That's what they give. That is an integrated course. It will be giving you the coaching for prelims as well as for mains. That's what I took. Usually that's what people take. So you can take it because that will integrate your preparation for prelims as well as for mains. Okay, so that's what you can do. There's no problem taking the prelims cum mains foundation. Most toppers actually take it. The meaning of prelims cum mains is that they will be teaching you the syllabus for prelims as well as for mains. And once you clear prelims, they will also be supporting you for mains, answer writing, test, and mentorship, all these things. What do you think many graduates, instead of focusing on skills, they are focusing on UPSC? I will give you this question. See, there are different opinions about this. I'm no one to comment on this. And, okay, so I think that's over with the questions. So if you have more questions, to pose them. Otherwise, I think. Yes, please ask if you have any doubts. How to answer questions? Usually out of the whole like this year, at least. Yeah, so this is one important question. So in mains, you cannot expect all the 20 questions which you are knowing. They will be out of box questions. There will be questions which you might not be knowing. So in such cases, with whatever existing knowledge you have, please try to answer the questions with the existing knowledge. Because most of the people who are writing the exam will be like you. They won't be knowing the answer to that question. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. But with whatever knowledge you have, write it. So in case of the example that you point out, constitutional morality, so write about what constitutional morality is, and then you can say about judicial interventions with respect to this, where judiciary has openly said about constitutional morality. For example, in the Shabarimala judgment, it openly said about constitutional morality. So these are things which you might be knowing. So write that, put that in the answers. That's what every topper will be doing. Okay, don't get too much tensed about it. I think it's important you remain calm in the hall when you see such such questions. So I would prefer you read NCERT class 11 or 12 books. Okay, not specific because there are the old NCERT. There are authors like Bipin Chandra is there, Satish Chandra I think is there, R.S. Sharma is there. So it's not required you go for the authors. You read the official NCERT textbook. How to understand demand of UPSC. See, it's that is basically you can do through reading toppers copies by mentorships. You can actually understand what exactly demand of UPSC is. Okay, so for mains, every question has a so in the case of mains, every question has a particular demand. So while you practice, while you give tests, you slowly start to understand what exactly the examiner wants. So as I said, using key terms, using the language of bureaucrats can be very helpful. Then regarding answering the core of the question is really important here. So that you can get through practice. Okay, so regarding mentors is really important for preparation. I think mentors can be very helpful because they can guide you personally on a lot of issues you are facing. Even if you're having some mental health problems, if you're having if you're feeling down, disappointed, they help you in many ways. So mentorships can be really helpful, and they will be able to track your progress. That's very important. How to crack UPSC first attempt? See, I am a person who didn't crack in first attempt, so I don't think I am the authority to answer that question. Why is UPSC syllabus so vast? It's literally ending me. See, don't consider it so vast and it's not it's impossible to complete, or don't think it that way. Enjoy the things you're learning because that can make it more fun process rather than thinking that it's going to be a very stressful process. So try to see UPSC the exam as a process which from which you will gain a lot. Okay, trust the process, and then I think you will be able to feel that syllabus is not very taxing. So loving what you do, loving the syllabus and loving the subjects is one thing which you have to do to actually make it more a fun process. Including being constitutionalities, fulcrum and balance English. See that from where this question came is basically UPSC syllabus is saying about Constitution of India. That's from and also judiciary and judicial bodies. So that's from I think from where this question is coming. According to you, which platform is best one of your question? I take question daily, sir. See, I'm not really exactly aware which platform you take. That depends on your personal preferences. How can I analyze PYQs and family quiz at the same time? See, And analyzing PYQ, as I said, it's about going in depth, trying to find associated issues of a question that's asked previously. That's how you have to go about handling the PYQs. Keep on reading PYQs multiple times. Try to understand UPSC language. Okay, how to judge, then handle family pressure. See, family pressure will be there, but try to talk with your parents, try to talk with your family members, and make them feel, this process is important, so that they also don't feel that one is wasting their time in UPSC. Okay. What NCERT notes, I personally have not taken the notes for NCERT textbooks. I don't think it's very essential that you take notes for NCERT. Okay. And regarding NCERT, which books to read, I have suggested that class 11 and 12 textbooks you have to basically read. Polity textbooks, and you read the textbook of geography, then society also you can read. Okay. History textbook, history also you have to read. How to juggle college and UPSC? College and UPSC, see, in college, whatever free time you get, try to focus on, try to spend on UPSC. You can actually, I have not personally done this, but I think one thing you can do is that you can read newspapers daily during college time as well, that I did. And reading NCERT can be very easy during college period, because it doesn't take much time. So that is one thing which you can do. If you have enough time, the bandwidth for time is there, then you can do it. Preparing for science and tech and environment. So in that case, see, for science and tech, coaching, I depend on coaching materials. Mainly focusing on defense technology, then genetic engineering, then nanotechnology. These are the main things which UPSC usually asks. So from coaching material, I took the things for science and tech. For environment, I depend on a textbook called Essentials of Ecology. From there, I read selective chapters on climate change, pollution, biodiversity, the nutrient cycles, basics of ecology. I read from that. Okay, and then current affairs as well. You can depend on to know about different animals and different birds in India. You can go to this website like Wildlife Institute of India. They have the details of different animals, where they are found, what are the unique features that they have. That can also help you, because UPSC asks about different animals. Okay, so that I think is it. That you can do. So I kind of standard books for different. So how what's important thing by reading newspaper? So I'll answer that question. What's the important thing by reading newspaper? So by reading newspaper, read one headline and remember and link that with syllabus. If you're able to link that with syllabus, then you have definitely you should read that. Suppose a question is asked about an article comes about India's foreign policy. You can always link that with international relations. Okay, that's how you should be reading it. If there's a question about the article is there about India's constitution, about, let's say, the role of speaker. Recently there was the motion of the removal for speaker. So you can, so at that time an article comes about speaker, read that, because that is about constitution, and UPSC syllabus is mentioning about it. Suppose there is a recent disaster, let's say an earthquake has happened somewhere, read about earthquakes, okay, because that is there in UPSC syllabus. That's how you should be reading. And don't read political news, local news. Okay, so if you take the newspaper The Hindu, read the editorial page, the first page, the editorial page, then the business page, foreign news and national news. That's all that is needed for the exam. And another question that you asked is, can you list standard books? So for politics, Lakshmikant. For history, it is Spectrum, and NCERT textbook also for ancient and medieval. Then for environment, as I said, Essentials of Ecology is what I followed. For geography, it is class 11 and 12 textbooks for geography, NCERTs. So these are the main ones I remember. History, geography, art and culture also, NCERT is what I did. And these are the most important textbooks that I read. what to do for best answer writing for mains. So as I said, it's to improve your answers, you have to keep on practicing. So practice as many answers as possible. Mainly during the period of prelims and mains, attempt a lot of tests, give many tests, and practice. So practice is most important here. And second is analyzing toppers copies as well as PYQs. Okay, toppers copies are important. You can get a lot of data, materials, examples from that, and then PYQs also will be very helpful. How to write best content? See, as I said, to make your answer more unique, uh, add additional examples, give case studies in your answers, give figures, flow charts, hub and spoke diagrams. Okay, that is important for adding value to your answer in mains. Adding SDGs. Okay, in conclusion, giving quotes of prime ministers, giving quotes of the from government documents, suggestions of government documents. Let's say questions asked about federalism. Uh, you can always mention about the recommendations of Sarkaria Commission, recommendations of Poonchi Commission. So many toppers actually, in their conclusion, they give some suggestions. They in the bracket they write about which committee made the suggestion. That also you can do. How to analyze PYQ for mains? PYQ. See, for prelims I have mentioned already. For mains also very similar approach, because in mains PYQ you can see a lot of repetition is happening. A lot of questions get repeated in different ways. They ask questions. The same question is asked in different ways. So one thing you can do is to analyze current affairs and then try to get try to relate with the questions that is asked previously. Okay. Then another thing is that from the questions that is there from the PYQs, you have to focus on that particular parts. So as I said, for example, if you go to history, you'll be reading a lot of questions about Cholas and Vijayanagara Empire. So read about them, read more about them, gather more information, gather more facts about them, which you can put in the exam. Starting as beginner, we should analyze PYQ after 1 9. I think you can. I personally started analyzing PYQ after one time read of books. How to approach CSAT and which top the scoring area, how many questions to get it. So if CSAT, my thing is minimum attempt is actually 40, 45. 45 questions are minimum attempt. Then if time is there, then I go beyond that. So see which top the scoring area, it depends on people. So there are engineers who will be very easy with, who will be comfortable with math, but other people will be more okay with the reading comprehension part. So it depends on people to people. So I feel that personally for me it was reading comprehension was easier, so I used to depend more on that. Okay, with science and tech and ethics. See, for ethics, there is no stand book as such. I don't think book is required there. So coaching materials will be there for you. I think you can read the coaching materials, and then is reading toppers copies. Toppers copies will be there, which gives you, which can will give you keywords. Will be giving you a lot of examples about different things. Okay, they'll be telling about some IAS officer doing something in innovatively. So that examples you have to collect. Okay, and then also you can give the examples of the great people like Mahatma Gandhi's examples or Nelson Mandela's examples. That is one for ethics, and these examples will give you a lot of value to your answer, and keywords also in ethics. For case studies also very similar thing. Give more solutions, give more options to your answers. Okay, and add keywords to your answers. And you always link a lot of policies to the case studies. Suppose a case study is asked about Naxalism, you can always say about the Samadhan strategy of government. You can say about the measures the government has taken. So you can link the current affairs with the case studies as well. So science and tech, see as I said, I depend on coaching materials and then current affairs. Okay. The questions on science and tech is usually more. It's about defense tech will be there, about nanotechnology they will be asking, about genetic engineering they will be asking. The main areas from which they usually ask. See, I said about my main strategy before also. I gave a detailed thing about my main strategy. So tell the biggest time wasting mistake which we should avoid. I think it's about don't actually waste time reading a lot of materials, a lot of resources. Okay, try to keep your resource limited. Okay, don't think that if we read more we are going to get more marks. That's not how it works. Make sure that you keep your resource limited and keep on revising that. So you have to make notes, really concentrate short notes, which many toppers do, because we have to remember so many things how to something as important. See, how do you identify something is important depends upon the, you have to link a particular thing with syllabus with PYQs. These two things, everything has to be traced back to syllabus and the PYQs. Suppose a particular thing is there about which UPSC has asked questions many times, then you have to make notes on that. Suppose there is a thing that's happening which is related to the syllabus, you have to make notes of it. That's how that's how it is. It works. So don't get too much confused as to whether I should write this, I should write, or should I not write that. Okay, keep the base of keep the foundation as your syllabus and the PYQs. Congratulations, thank you. How many? So how to make notes for mains? See, my strategy for making notes, I did not make very detailed notes, short notes for mains. My strategy was to actually make a database of lot of examples and case studies and best practices, which I can use to enhance the value of my answer. So in my answer, I used to have the points. So to substantiate the points, I used to use these examples, and my notes were mainly for that. How to read newspaper, how to know which part of newspaper is important. See, I've actually said about this newspaper reading. While newspaper, you have to link that with syllabus. So have a copy of the syllabus with you always, and then while reading newspaper, make sure that you link it with syllabus. You're reading something about, let's say, some climate summit. The COP summit is happening. Always you can trace that to GS3. Right? You can always trace that to GS3. GS3, they ask questions on environment. Okay, that's how we have to do it. So it is, first of all, read the syllabus multiple times and internalize the syllabus. And when you read newspaper, you can connect that to the syllabus. Any suggestion for PSI optional notes or material? See, notes are so there are coaching notes are already available. I did not make many notes for my PSI optional. So for my optional, what I did was I made a lot of quotes and a lot of keywords I have used, and that is what my notes is all about. Okay, so for foreign policy, I've given made a lot of quotes of Prime Minister and then Foreign Minister and then experts. I used to take key terms from what C. Raja Mohan has written in India Express article. That's what I did for my PSA thing. And notes are already available, because if you go to the coaching institutes like Shubhra Ranjan, they already have the notes available, which you can always you can depend on for your answers. Is there any luck factor to clear UPSC work? See, working hard is very essential. See, working hard is always essential factor for clearing the exam. But of course, there will be some factor of luck also involved. Okay? Because there are a lot of, it's a 1 year long exam. Things can go in your favor, things can not go in your favor. It all depends. There are a lot of factors in there. So luck is also one thing about it. That's what I can say. So I hope all the questions are answered. Hardest part of UPSC? See, for me, mains was the most challenging part, because for me, writing for 3 hours was a big task. So that is one thing which I feel it's very the hardest part for me. So what I did was that to tackle that, I practiced a lot of time the answer writing thing. So and that's how I tackled it. So you have to once the problem is scientific, try to resolve it. So I'm preparing through self-study. Let me know. Okay, so just Just a second, I'll just give my Telegram ID. Okay, just a second, I'll answer the questions. If we have make base notes for mains and then go validation. Yeah, I think that's one approach you can use. Or otherwise, yeah, that's what you can do. You can do base notes and then you can keep on adding value. So digital notes is what you can do for this purpose. So how to make a transform examples of capture data and output place to know where to be used. See, that has to be. So what I did was uh, did not do it. I did by GS5. So GS3, I had examples for agriculture. I had examples for economy, data points for economy. So it largely is used only for that subject. I don't think for economy data, you can definitely use it in other places. I think when you practice writing answers, you can start to adopt examples from one paper to other paper. So it depends on how much you practice answer writing. Then you can slowly start to integrate examples from one section to another section. To give an example, in GS4 ethics, they can ask you about women in public service. So you can write about the percentage of women that is there in public service, right? So that you might have studied that in your GS2 paper, because there are also governance and civil services there. So that section you can, so that data you can adopt from GS2 and then put in GS4. That's how you can do that in that sort of mix and make sort of integrating across different subjects. But that will happen only if you practice many times. Now, how does child get data by formula he gets multiple of these getting? See, don't think that reading a lot of things and having a lot of resources will help you clear the exam. That's not how the exam works. You have to keep your resource limited, keep your resource in such a way that you're able to finish everything, read everything, okay, and complete everything. Okay, so that's how you can do it. So keep your resource limited and keep on doing revisions. So I think it's important to make the template is based on the syllabus and not PYQ. You make for syllabus, you automatically do it for PYQs. So make templates for syllabus. Okay, so I think that's it for the day. Thank you all of you for listening to me. Thank you. So if you want to connect, I think you can connect to me in my Instagram. You just type Nithin Pradeep. So NITH_PRAD. This means in Instagram you can do as I mentioned NITH_PRAD. So I think I will end the day and end the session. Thank you.